Last year, I shared a video about rooting Plumeria. I had planned to make a follow-up video about transplanting, but I got busy and didn't get around to it. Now that I finally have some time, I'm ready to transplant all my Plumerias into bigger and better pots. Since I have quite a few Plumeria plants, I'll be transplanting them a few at a time. This works out well because I don't have enough perlite to mix with my soil, and the soil I have isn't enough for all the larger plants I plan to use. For 5 years now, I've been using a soil brand called ProMix, and it's been working well for me, especially for my indoor plants. Just to clarify, this is not a sponsored video. I'm not getting paid by ProMix. I just find their product works great for my needs. For Plumeria, I use the ProMix HP Professional High Porosity Growing Medium. But any good cactus soil should work just as well. This Plumeria was rooted last year and is one of the plants I showed in rooting video. Plumeria is a fast-growing tropical plant that typically grows 12 to 24 inches per year, depending on the variety and growing conditions. This one is growing within that range. If you'd like to watch the video I shared about Plumeria propagation, I'll put the link to the video titled Plumeria Propagation: The Secrets of Successful Rooting in the description below. One thing holding it back from growing more is the pot. The current pot is too small and the roots need more space to expand. I'm planning to move it to a much larger pot. It might be a little late for this plant, hopefully not, because its roots have been cramped in the pot for a bit too long, and the leaves don't look healthy either. This Plumeria is placed under a grow light near a southwest facing window. The grow light is there just to give it an extra boost of light. In this tub, I have soil and perlite. The soil already contains some perlite, but in my opinion, it's not enough for Plumeria, so I'll be adding more. Usually, if you're using regular soil, the mix should be about 50-50. You can also use sand if you don't have perlite. The goal is to make the soil more porous so water can drain easily from the pot. We don't want the roots sitting in too much moisture. Before I start mixing, I found some leftover cactus soil, which I'm going to add to the tub. The soil I'm using right now is a mix of coconut coir, peat moss, and perlite, plus the addition of the cactus soil that I just added. The soil is a bit dry, and when perlite is disturbed, it creates dust. I'm adding water to moisten the soil, which also helps reduce the dust. I'll mix the perlite, soil, and water until the moisture feels just right and the perlite is evenly distributed. Because of the volume of soil and perlite, mixing this well might take a little time, I need more water. If the soil is dry, it's important to moisten it. Dry soil, especially a mix of peat moss and coconut coir, can cause water to drain without properly soaking it. Notice the soil color has changed. It's darker and moist now. This round tub will help the bottom of the pot clean and free from soil. But first, I need to give it a quick clean. As I mentioned earlier, I'm using a much bigger pot. This is one of the large pots I'll be using for transplanting. This pot has 4 large drainage holes. Because the holes are so big, I'm placing a scrap of window screen at the bottom of the pot to stop the soil and perlite from washing out with the water. I prefer this kind of pot with straight sides instead of tapered ones, especially for shallow-rooted plants like Plumeria. Here's one of the drainage holes. Did you see how big it is? Just making sure the screen is flat at the bottom of the pot. Here's the plumeria that's going into this pot. Filling the sides with soil to hold the screen in place and close the gap between the bottom and the screen. The weight of the soil will keep the screen from moving. Checking the soil level to see if it's high enough. It needs a little more. From my experience, when plumerias are planted in bigger pots, the main stem or trunk grows wider and sturdier, which is exactly what I want. Normally, the rule is to move the plant into a pot that's just one size bigger. I'm breaking that rule and using a much bigger pot for my plumeria. I thought it would be easy to separate the plant from the pot since the soil is dry. I didn't expect this kind of resistance. There you go. And finally, When the soil is dry, it's usually easy to take the plant out of the pot. I mostly use plastic pots and hardly ever use clay ones, so I never realized that roots can stick to the porous surface of the clay pot. I just cut one of the grids on the plastic screen to free a trapped root. Shaking off some of the soil, and at the same time checking the roots for any signs of disease. This plant's leaves are drooping with some yellowing on the edges. The plant is showing signs of stress because the soil is completely dry. Before finishing the transplant, I'll sprinkle about 1 tablespoon of bone meal on top. Then I'll add another layer of soil. Bone meal is a natural fertilizer made from crushed animal bones, usually from cattle or fish. It's rich in phosphorus, which helps plants grow strong roots and produce more flowers. It also has calcium, which keeps plants healthy and strengthens their stems. Bone meal is great for flowering plants and root vegetables. Since it's a slow-release fertilizer, it gives plants nutrients over time, providing lasting benefits for plants' growth. There, the transplant is done. All I have to do is water it. Lately, my husband has been in charge of watering the plants. He left this Plumeria along with a few others soaking in a tub of water. I'm not sure how long they've been sitting there, but when I lifted the pots, they were dripping wet. We all know that plumerias are prone to root rot when the soil is constantly wet. I'll transplant this into a larger pot, check the roots for any damage, and remove any unhealthy parts. Normally, I'd water the plants after transplanting, but since it's already soaked, I'll wait until the soil dries out before watering it again. Let's see how bad the damage in these plants' roots. What I'm looking for are mushy, dark, or black roots. Those are the signs of root rot. I just found one. I'll trim the damaged root and leave the healthy part. When cutting roots, it's important to use a sharp, disinfected cutter to avoid causing more damage or spreading any disease. That's the only one I found, which is a good sign. It means the plant hasn't been in the water for too long. But I'll still keep an eye on it in case anything changes. When using bone meal, mix it well into the soil. I'll let the soil dry out before watering it again. This pot has plenty of drainage holes, which will help prevent overwatering. Here's a piece of window screen cut to fit the pot. It'll help keep the soil from washing out when watering. I still have a few small potted plumerias that need to be transferred to bigger pots, which I'm going to do right now. Here's one of them. It doesn't have leaves right now because it's dormant and conserving energy. This is another plumeria I rooted last year, but it wasn't transferred to a larger pot right away. It looks like this plant is starting to wake up. I can see a new leaf beginning to emerge. This plumeria is sitting by a window where it's exposed to temperature changes. As you can see, it has completely lost its leaves, but that doesn't mean it's dead. Like I said earlier, it's just conserving energy. Sprinkling a little bit of bone meal. In colder climates, plumerias go dormant, but different varieties do this in different ways. Some will completely lose their leaves, while others will slow down in growth but keep some of their leaves. Dormancy helps plants conserve energy and reduce their need for water and nutrients. A survival strategy. Here's another small potted plumeria. I'm finally moving it to a bigger pot. Plumerias planted in plastic pots are easy to remove when the soil is dry. Checking the roots for any damage or disease. When transplanting, I like to shake off some old soil to slightly loosen the roots without damaging it. Like the other small potted plumeria I just finished transplanting, this one was also by the window where it was exposed to temperature changes. It's also in a dormant stage now, but instead of shedding all its leaves, it still has some greenery. Plumerias can tolerate dry soil for a while, but they can't thrive in it for long. Once they're established, they can handle some drought, but too much dryness can stress them out. Typically, a plumeria can manage dry soil for a few weeks, especially during its dormancy period when it's not growing. Water your plumeria when the top 1 to 2 inches of soil feel dry. During the growing season, spring and summer, they usually need more water, about once a week, but it depends on your climate and how well the soil drains. In the fall and winter, when the plant is resting, you can water less, only when the soil feels dry. Make sure the soil drains well to prevent the roots from sitting in water. Overwatering can cause root rot, so it's better to underwater than overwater. Here's the plumeria I transplanted 6 days ago. It's back in its usual spot under the grow light near a southwest facing window. The leaves aren't drooping anymore, but the yellow edges will take some time to go away. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, like, and share it with your friends. Your comments are greatly appreciated. Don't forget to click the notification bell to stay updated on the latest videos. Again, thank you and have a great day!